let's explore some equations that correlate between culture and consciousness and reality. We have the sphere, the most elegant geometric shape in the multiverse, the most elegant pattern of transforming energy into human well-being, the wheel. The way of transformation, of transportation, with the least amount of energy and friction. Entering into human consciousness, the sphere is refracted into the square lines of cult. And what happens above the horizon of taboo, above the cult horizon? The elongation, the transformation, the contortion of the sphere into a box creates ripple effects. Every cult is sustained by a certain amount of willful ignorance, by a certain amount of exaggeration. And what goes on above the line, above the mirror, goes on in another way below the mirror. What happens on one side of consciousness, what happens in the conscious mind affects and connects with that which is in the sub and unconscious mind. Now, the line of every cult is held together by silence, by compulsion, through brainwashing, through shame, through trauma, through the withholding of survival, security, love, and belonging to those people who cross the line and look too deeply. Because the elongation, the overemphasis in any cult connects with an underemphasis, with a masking of other parts of the truth, of other parts of the code, of other parts of the narrative. So the cult zeroes in and emphasizes part of the probability field. There have been 10,000 cults in human history, 10,000 cultures and languages. Each one emphasizes a part of the probability field. A shape is defined. A shape is defined consistent with a paradigm. A paradigm is created consistent with a shape. And these parts that could be conscious are ignored, are avoided in favor of other things. Someone develops money and independence is emphasized and celebrated. But during the celebration, during the toast, during the emphasis on independence, we are each breathing in and breathing out oxygen, that we are in a dependent relationship with nature. Meaning nature will do just fine if we disappear. But if nature disappears, we will not do just fine. It's a dependent relationship. But we ignore the gratitude we feel to the trees. We ignore the cleanness of the air after a rain. We ignore our dependency on ecology for every breath, for every taste, for every sip, for the exact coding of gravity, so that our relationship on the planet is optimal as far as walking and moving around on the planet. Now, when we turn our attention away from the fullness of who we are as individuals, as a species, when we draw a line in the sand and say, this is shameful, this is not welcome, calculating equations plus omitted data equals a faulty outcome. In other words, doing a mathematical equation with faulty or incomplete data leads to the wrong answer. If, for example, you have 2 plus 2 equals 6, 2 plus 2 plus 2 equals 6. If you mask 2 of the 2's, by diverting attention or simply making them taboo, making them unconscious, if you cannot see 2 of the 2's, then you have 2 equals 2, because you don't have the other 2's. But the real answer is 6. The data is simply masked and obscured. Calculating equations plus omitted data equals a faulty outcome. A faulty map of reality emerges from a picture. If you take a business and you try to determine its value, and you leave out some of the expenses, the business looks very valuable. And so you might make the decision to buy the business based on the fact that it appears very valuable. But the reason it appears very valuable is businesses are valued based on their net profit per unit of capital invested. And so the fact that 20% of the expenses are omitted makes the company 20% more valuable on paper, but not in reality. Equations plus omitted data equals a faulty map of reality. A faulty map of reality equals faulty decisions. Faulty decisions lead to choices and to creating a reality that is less intelligent than it could be. Intelligence being the efficiency with which energy, time, money, and natural resources are transformed into human well-being. Now here's an interesting thing, both with the counter shape that happens below consciousness and with this shadow line that defines the cult horizon. This is unconscious, but it has influence in terms of the wheel turning, in terms of how this shape moves up here, the fact that it connects with this shape in the unconscious means something. This is as necessary to the wheel turning gracefully as this is. It's just below the cult horizon. It's unconscious. Now, unconscious mass has more impact than conscious mass. Meaning, if you look at the way that Hillary Clinton lost the election to Trump, well, a lot of there was no question that she could have won. So why didn't she? She and most of her supporters were more committed to portraying America as some place that would never vote for Trump than they were to gathering the data. So you had an equation with omitted data. You have faulty data equals a faulty map of reality. A map of reality helps you anticipate the future, a good map of reality. And so the Democrats anticipated that there was no way that America could vote for Trump. A faulty map of reality leads to faulty decisions. Faulty decisions lead to not mobilizing support, meaning the Democrats, if they believed that Trump had a chance to win, would have gotten out and voted and seen that he didn't. But not believing that he had a chance in order to validate a faulty map, not believing that he had a chance, they didn't get out and vote. They didn't donate more money and didn't make the effort. And so when a cult omits large portions of the data, the consequences are severe because you act based on faulty data and get a faulty equation. Now, when you're unconscious of an energy, think of it like how well you could defend yourself if a person was lunging at you and you saw them running for 10 yards. So you got 30 feet of watching someone looking right at you, clearly out to get you. The question is, do you have a chance to defend yourself? If so, why? And I would suggest that the basis that you have to defend yourself is predicated by knowing you have an enemy running towards you. As soon as you see this is your enemy and it's running towards you, as soon as you see that, this is my friend and they're interacting in this and this way, you can now respect. You can see and continue to respond to what you see. But what you make into taboos, what you fail to talk about, fail to see through the lens of language, is like an assailant where a 6-year-old can walk right up holding a gun because you have the idea that a 6-year-old has no danger, so you don't see the gun. When you have dogmas, when you have traditions that are too rich with repetition and have lost the vitality of their meaning, you have unconsciousness. You have unconsciousness. And something that you don't see, the car that is driving straight toward you that you don't see, you can't jump out of the way of. So, unconscious equals more influence. Whatever is trying to affect you that you don't see will have more impact on you than if you see it, is, I guess, another way to see it. Now, the way to see more, the way to heal the internal rift between a paradoxical psyche that is cut in half by a simplistic and unconscious cult. As we bring language into that which is taboo, that which is secret, that which is not spoken. As we give language to it, we have the choice to change the shape of the energy that is affecting us. And in many ways, the energy in formation, the pattern of energy that's below the conscious mind, that is below the cult horizon, is constantly seeking transmutation, transcendence, transformation. And the first step in a situation where the seat of power is held in the conscious mind, the first step is to become aware. Because when we do not become aware in language of the impact and the predisposition to a given form, to a given memory, we will reenact it. The pattern must be brought to consciousness before it can be healed and changed. And there's only one way, or there's two ways to bring things to consciousness. One is to see the pattern on various dimensions and respond to it. The other is to reenact the pattern so that one can witness oneself and the others involved being in the pattern. You can witness reenactment, and that makes it conscious as well. In other words, for a structure to evolve, it must be conscious. For a cult to evolve, it must be conscious. For things to be conscious, we have the choice to look at them and remember, reassemble a pattern from the past so that we can look at it. We can make it conscious. We can understand why it's there. We can understand the purpose it serves. And we can release the pattern and form a new pattern. We can form a new pattern. So in that, we can consciously become conscious. Or we will unconsciously reenact the pattern that we are not conscious of. Then we will reflect on the pattern and put it into language. We can unconsciously play out the pattern and then become conscious as we remember what just played out. Or we can learn from, remember, and understand the patterns before. This model of reality suggests the critical importance of bringing the unconscious shadow of our cult, the unconscious shadow of our family, the unconscious shadow that we have taken in from the family system into our psyche, into an internal dialogue of internalized personas, needs to be brought to light, needs to be brought to consciousness so that we can learn from it. Otherwise, we are destined to continue the unconscious abuse cycle that ripples through the generations, waiting for a consciousness capable of not only grasping the pattern and dissolving it, but capable of creating a new and more intelligent pattern in its place.